Welcome to The Explainer. If you've been on India's streets lately, you've probably heard it. Or, well, not heard it. That quiet hum of electric scooters. It feels like a full-blown revolution on two wheels, one that promises cleaner air and, maybe more importantly, cheaper travel. But is this electric dream hitting a few reality checks along the way? Let's get into it.
All right, here's how we're going to break this down. We'll start with the huge promise of going electric, and then look at how the market just took off. After that, we'll get into what you, the buyer, actually care about, see the brands that are duking it out, and then we'll pull up a map to see where this is all happening before we look at the road ahead.
So let's start with the big one. What is the promise here? Why is everyone and their brother talking about electric two-wheelers? I mean, it really does feel like they just popped up overnight, right? Zipping through traffic everywhere you look. But the reasons for this boom, well, they're not sudden at all. They're actually super practical and have been building up for a while now.
Okay, first and foremost, let's talk about the money, because the numbers here are just staggering. A petrol scooter can cost you up to 3 rupees a kilometer. An electric one? We're talking as little as 20 paise. That's a running cost that is nearly 10 times lower. For your daily commute, that isn't just a small saving, that's a total game changer for your wallet. And, it goes way beyond just your bank account. We're talking about a much bigger picture here. Think cleaner air in our crowded cities, thanks to zero emissions. Think way less time and money spent at the mechanic, because there are just fewer parts to break. And on top of all that, you've got a big push from the government, the fact that these are perfect for zipping around town. And, hey, it even helps the country's energy security. It's a win-win-win. So, the promise is definitely there. But are people actually, buying in? Well, the data says yes. And in a very, very big way. This isn't hype, it's a market explosion. Just look at that number for a second. Over 1.2 million. That's how many new high-speed electric two-wheelers hit the roads in India in just the last fiscal year. This thing has officially gone from a tiny niche to the absolute mainstream. And it's not just the huge number, it's the sheer speed of this takeoff. Sales jumped by over 19% in just 1 year. That kind of momentum tells you that we are seeing a really fundamental shift in how Indians are choosing to move around. Okay, so the market's on fire, but what's the real story for the person who's actually thinking of buying one? Let's get past the shiny sales charts and talk about what's really on people's minds. Because behind those impressive sales figures, there are some pretty big hurdles and real anxieties that companies are now scrambling to deal with. The future of this whole revolution? It really depends on them solving these real-world problems for you, the consumer. And for anyone looking to buy, it pretty much boils down to this checklist, right? Can this thing actually get me where I need to go and back on a single charge? Is it a pain to charge it? Can I even afford the thing in the first place? And maybe the most important one, what happens if it breaks down? These are the absolute make or break questions. And this right here gets to the heart of the single biggest barrier. It's not about horsepower or top speed. It's about that nagging fear in the back of your mind, that voice asking, what if I get stranded? We all know it from our phones, right? Well, that feeling is range anxiety, and it is the number one thing these companies have to solve. So where does a lot of that anxiety come from? It comes from this, the charging network. Yeah, it's growing, but it's still massively concentrated in the big cities. For millions of people living in smaller towns or villages, this makes the whole EV dream feel, well, pretty out of reach for now. So this frantic race to solve all of these consumer problems has basically turned the market into an all-out battleground. And the fight is between two very different kinds of players, the cool new startups and the old-school giants. So on one side, you've got these nimble, tech-first startups that really kickstarted this whole revolution. But on the other side, you have the legacy giants. We're talking TVS, Bajaj. They might have been a little late to the party, but now they are using their massive, trusted dealer networks and their huge manufacturing power to catch up, and they are catching up fast. And if you want to see just how wild this fight is, look at this. The top spot is literally changing hands every few months. First, the big legacy brands as a group grab more than half the market. Then in October, Bajaj surges to number 1. But wait, the very next month, TVS snatches the crown. It's this constant back and forth, proving that right now, absolutely no one has a lock on this market. Now, this battle for the top spot, it isn't happening everywhere equally. This revolution has clear hotspots.
So let's pull up the map and see exactly where things are heating up. So here's the main takeaway. The market is incredibly concentrated. Just these 5 states, they account for over half of all the electric two-wheeler sales in the entire country. And that's often because these states have better subsidies and more charging stations, making them the powerhouses of this whole movement. And if we zoom in even more, you can see that Maharashtra and Karnataka are just in a league of their own. Together, they make up a massive piece of the pie, which makes them the key battlegrounds where every single brand is fighting tooth and nail to win. Okay, so we've seen the incredible promise, the explosive growth, and the real-world problems. So what does all of this mean for the future of getting around in India? Let's look at what's coming up. Going forward, the whole game is going to shift to this one concept: total cost of ownership. It's not just about the sticker price anymore. The brands that win are going to be the ones that can prove that over the entire life of the scooter, from what you pay for electricity to service to what you can sell it for later, that going electric is just the smartest financial move, period. And really, it all comes back to that buyer's checklist we saw earlier, doesn't it? The brands that win will be the ones that solve those core problems. That means better batteries that finally kill range anxiety, a service network you can actually depend on, smart charging solutions, and most of all, just building scooters that people trust to be safe and reliable. Which leaves us with the final multi-billion-dollar question. The promise of a cleaner, cheaper way to get around is undeniable. It's here. But who is actually going to deliver on that promise for the Indian consumer? Will it be the agile startups who started the fire, or the legacy giants who now seem to be controlling the flame? That's a race that is far from over.